you remember whenever I first become acquainted with you, you greeted me at the front door in a pod that hold about 25 or 30 men, and you looked at me and you said, "I'm your best damn friend in the world right now." And I looked at you kind of I looked at you kind of cocky because I thought, now who in the heck is this? But you know what? You did. You wound up being my best friend in that pod. You sure did.
A bunch of shitheads in there anyway.
Oh, just a bunch of old drug addicts and stuff. You know what I'm
That's
saying?
all you're gonna meet in jail. Is thugs. The majority of them anyway.
Pretty much so, huh?
Yeah. You'll meet some friends that you can get along with, but the majority of them are out to stab you in the back.
That's right.
And they will.
Oh, there's your little cat.
That's my cat.
That's your cat.
There's cats that roam around here all over the place. This place is full of cats.
You have you ever seen this guy on TV right here?
All them Arabs look the same to me. Who is he?
Well, that's the main one over there.
Is he?
Uh-huh. That's the main honcho.
All them Arabs, they're kind of like Africans. All of them look alike to me.
Right. Here's my truck.
Is that the same truck? No, you got a double cab.
That's my same truck.
Oh, is it?
Uh-huh. That Toyota Tundra.
Mm-hmm.
I've kept it in the shed now for 2 years.
Why?
Just wanting to keep it up.
Shit, I'd drive the hell out of it.
Well, thing about it is, it don't get near as gas mileage as that little rice burner right there. That little rice burner right there gets about 30 miles a gallon. That truck probably gets
15.
about 15. But this is my place right here. This is where I live.
Then we got it decorated up. Must have been Christmas time.
It was.
You got it decorated up.
Yeah.
It looks pleasant.
Well, I try to
make it comfortable.
Well, I try to make it comfortable. There it is right there in the dead winter. No leaves on the trees right there.
Yeah.
Cottonwood tree. 2 cottonwood trees popped up overnight.
Yeah.
I mean, popped up overnight.
Yeah, cottonwood real quick, like a maple tree.
This is a better view from it, from a corner.
Yeah, whose little red truck is that?
That was my daddy's.
Was it?
Yeah. That picture there was taken before my brother died in 2017.
What happened to your brother anyway?
They killed him.
Who killed him? Doctor?
The devil's people.
Mm-hmm.
The Wiccans.
Mm.
You familiar with the Wiccans?
No.
Well,
Familiar with the wicked.
well, I didn't know them neither until I wound up getting exposed to them in 2010, and here you go. This is another view of my back trailer.
Is that your trailer back there too?
All that is.
Yeah. You one there and one here and one there?
Yeah, all that is.
Damn it, boy.
And
How you keep it all up?
there's still one right here. See the one right over there in the very corner?
Yeah.
That's a Fleetwood 30 foot right there.
How you keep them all up without running down?
Well, they're basically just used for storage. Here's another view of my property. The
Is that
purple
a skull and crossbones?
Purple Heart Memorial, yes sir.
Damn.
You think that's hick, don't you?
No, I like it.
Cross and skull bones.
No, I like it.
Do you? Well, there's a little more to it than it just being redneck or hick. The cross and skull bones represented the accomplishment of something that a lot of our naval base flew whenever they went on some sort of an assignment,
On mission.
on a mission, and whenever they come back and it was a mission accomplished, they would fly that flag. Now this is my heavenly home right there. That's down in Pickwick.
Seems like I've been through Pickwick.
That's down in,
No, I'm thinking about Wycliffe.
that's down in southern Tennessee. There's another picture of my boat, my truck. I still got my boat, still got my truck.
Yeah, go fishing.
That's me there. I'm in a museum.
Please stop the insanity.
See,
I go along with that.
see the
Swastika.
swastika flag on the wall over there.
Mhm.
That's a museum in McKenzie.
You know
is
what?
where that is.
Hitler, he put claim to the swastika, but that's not what the swastika is all about.
I didn't know that.
He put claim to it.
Okay, talk to me a little bit of history. Give me a little bit of history lesson here.
It actually means something good. I can't remember the exact quote on it.
Means something what?
Good. And Hitler turned it into something bad.
Oh, he took something that was already accomplished and
Turned it around.
turned it around, put another stamp on it for something else.
Right. But now people frown at you for having a swastika because it reminds them of Germany in World War II. But Hitler didn't invent the swastika.
That's the front of my property.
Windmill Ministry Missions.
Uh-huh.
Is that you?
Yes, sir. And that's been me now since 1989.
Yeah.
Going all the way back to the late 80s.
That's good. At least you try to do good.
Well, I put the message out there, but Mr. Woody, I never could get nobody to pay any attention to it. Now, I know whenever I first met you and I started telling you the story, by the way, I'm recording this. I started telling you the story about Land Between the Lakes. You thought that I was just about as full of piss and vinegar as anybody that you had ever laid eyes on. I didn't.
I just wasn't sure, Dennis. You meet so many
Lunatics.
lunatics in jail, you'll hear every kind of lie there is, and you just never know.
That's right. And you know, the internet and social media platform pertaining to Facebook and YouTube has just added that much more what word am I looking for? Discredibility to just about everything and anything. In other words, what you see on Facebook, what you see on YouTube, you don't know if it's been animated, if it's been generated and animated by some sort of computer, or if what you're actually looking at actually is happening. You question everything, and you know that's not a good state to be in. Whenever your own people question everything that the government does towards whether or not they're doing it for the benefit of the people. That's a very dangerous place to be in.
There's much mistrust in the world today.
It's more than it ever had been.
Well, sure it is. It ain't like it used to be.
More than it ever has been. But nobody told me, if you look at the background, right back over here, that's where I spent so much time at. But if you look at the background back over in there,
Yeah.
you can actually see the Tennessee-Kentucky River in behind there, especially in the wintertime. In the wintertime, it was so high that it wasn't nothing for me to see barges going up and down the river
You live that close
at
to the
night.
river?
Well, it wasn't so much so close to it. It was
Just
so
a
high that
flood.
you could see it.
Flood,
You know?
Yeah.
Didn't have to worry about no flooding. But I basically took that spot right there in the middle of nowhere. Didn't know it from Adam.
What is it?
Didn't know nothing about the history of LBL. This was in 1989.
Will you
Okay.
build a fire there or something?
No, what I done is cleaned all that out. I took a rake and leaf, and basically cleaned it all out and took rocks. There was a bunch of rocks, big stones. I guess it was petrified wood or something that had been petrified for years and years and years. And I basically built an altar, a round circle of about 30 foot, 25 foot by 25 foot or
What the hell did
whatever.
the park ranger say about it?
Huh?
What the hell did the park ranger say about it?
That's what got me in
That's
trouble.
what run you out of there.
That's what got me in trouble.
Let me get my ass straight.
Yeah, that's what got me in trouble. Actually, it's down there, Mr. Woody. You're familiar a little bit with LBL because you said that you had some people that got run out of there. You known some people that got run out of there. It's down there off Sugar Bay. You've probably been all the way down there at Sugar Bay, right? Fishing or something?
I just don't remember when.
Huh?
I'm sure I have, I just don't remember when.
I know you don't remember when, but it's after you leave Golden Pond, like going towards Grand Rivers, heading north. It's probably about 7 or 8 miles. You turn left on a major road right there, way before you get to Hillman's Ferry.
It's been so long since I've been down in there, then I can't recall.
I got you. But anyways, it's down on the bottom end of Hillman's Ferry is where God set me up at. And Gary Hawkins, he kept asking me, because he was the forest ranger out there at the time. He kept asking me, Dennis, how come God, you saying that God led you up here, right? I said, yes, sir. He goes, well, how come God led you here? How come he didn't lead you down there by Dover? Because Dover's in Tennessee, pertaining to LBL. Or how come he didn't lead you towards one of them other areas, maybe Turkey Bay or somewhere around in there? He said, how come God led you right here? And my answer was, well, my answer was, first of all, it's a high spot. It's a very high spot. I don't know that it's the highest spot out there, but I would say it's probably within the 3rd highest spot of anything out there that you can oversee the river. And plus, once I got out there, see, in 1989, whenever I become accustomed to LBL, the Forest Ranger Service wasn't in control of LBL at that time. No, TVA was in control of all that TVA, down in there.
Yeah.
TVA controlled all that.
Yeah.
A matter of fact, it wasn't even called Land Between the Lakes originally.
I remember that.
It was called something else. Well, I don't know what it was called.
Well, as long as I can remember, it's been TVA land since they built them dams and flooded all that.
But TVA gave
Corps of Engineers.
Corps of Engineers. Well, the Corps of Engineers are still in control of this side of LBL towards Lake Barkley. They're in control of the Lake Barkley side, but on the Tennessee-Kentucky side, TVA is still in control of that. And you know, if TVA is in control of it, they're in control of a certain amount of land within a depth. In other words, you can own property attaching to the river or the lake, and they own a certain portion of it, like several feet. I think it's like 300 feet from the water's edge. They're in control of like 300 feet from the water's edge.
You tell me something I don't know nothing about, Dennis.
But they gave that up in 1999, and what flubbed me up is that whenever I went up there and done what I done in 1989, that's up around Grand Rivers, Kentucky, right there.
Pretty.
It is, ain't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's beautiful up there.
Yeah, that's pretty.
All them turning leaves and stuff.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Is that same car?
Yeah, that's my little car right there.
Well, it looks shiny. It don't look shiny.
Well, I hadn't washed the thing in a year and a half. And plus I got all those military stickers all over the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little old four banger. I didn't give it like 15. I think I gave $1,200 or something like that, and I've done put 45,000 miles on the thing. Air conditioning works. Cruise works. I was moping. You know what moping means?
Well, thinking.
Well, that could be expressed that way. I was moping my way up to you, and I was actually debating on, because I'd done already had to go to McKenzie. I went from McKenzie up to Paris. I went to Paris, and I come on to Mayfield. And then once I got to Mayfield late yesterday evening, I got to thinking, well, you know what? I just need to go on up there and see Mr. Woody, because I ain't seen him in a while.
What's Mayfield look like now after that tornado come through there?
I mean, not Mayfield, Murray. I went to Murray last night. Mayfield, it will never be the same.
No doubt.
Mayfield would never be the same.
No
because it took the heart plumb out of Mayfield, Kentucky.
Tore it down.
It tore it down.
Might as well
Just stomped it in the ground.
build a new town.
I want you to see this. I got this up here at Clarksville. I like to hang around them guys up there in Clarksville from time to time.
Yeah.
If there was ever a time that I would like to have a hearse, that would be the one right there to have.
Well, I can't see them but swords.
You can't see the hearse?
The hearse? No, I didn't see no hearse.
Maybe I got you on the wrong page here. Hang on a minute. Right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's cool, man.
Huh?
That is cool.
Now, wouldn't you like for your dead carcass to be drugged down Main Street? That way everybody and their brother could see you for one last final time?
I'd rather be alive.
Well, I would too, but you know good and well we all gonna die. But I thought that was pretty neat in how somebody custom made that.
Build a,
And because of it, I took a lot of pictures of
but
it.
that's funeral home right there then.
That is funeral home. Yeah, that's somebody right there from the military that already had a hard life, and they was honoring them in a military type setting. But what I wanted to say to you is that whenever I went out to LBL in 1989, first of all, the Forest Rangers did not have control over that piece of property at that time. TVA did not delegate that over to them until 1999, and that's whenever the National Forest Rangers become associated with that piece of property. Up until then, it was strictly all TVA. That's right. So whenever I went out there and done what I done in 1989,
well, TVA probably didn't govern it as much as the Forest Rangers.
No, they did not govern it, and it wasn't near as strict. And whenever
you know what,
whenever I was,
strictness has got to play a part in this, because people got so damn wild and crazy nowadays. Fuck.
You're absolutely correct.
The
You got your cow, you got your wahoos.
Just like a police, you got to have police.
That's right.
Yeah, I used to cuss and damn them all the time.
That's right.
But they serving a purpose. They're trying to keep us civilized.
That's right.
And I've been civil disobedient all my life.
Civil disobedient, not obedient, but civil disobedient because of your drinking problem. But Mr. Woody, by and large, isn't that been your only problem as far as drinking? I mean, you ain't never been on heroin or crack or meth.
No.
You ain't never been a robber or a raper or a murderer or any of the above. You're basically
DUI.
Your DUI circuitry, and basically what drove you off into that was going to Vietnam, right?
Well, that's what I blame it on. That's what I blame it on.
Well, I don't blame you for blaming.
I got to have
you got to blame it on something.
Yep. But it's my own damn fault.
Well, I've always looked up to you because you've always been honest in that aspect. You know?
It's my own damn fault. I can't blame nobody but me. I'm trying to get out of that and have a little bit of responsibility about me.
Read that right there. You don't have to have your glasses on to read that.
I don't know if I do or not. Talking about the historic Windmill Ministry mission, we welcome you to the presence of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ through the St. Bill's Recovery Shelter. That's supported 9 denominations, associations, that needs to be done not only with our veterans, but all who seek divine restoration based around Matthew 7, 8, Luke 19, 14,
Right.
in honor of the Creator, truly through the only begotten Savior, Jesus Christ.
But that information on the left-hand side of that card pertaining to suicide prevention,
You get
that's all authentic. In other words, if anybody had a problem out there and had
you got that
emotions
on-
towards wanting,
Is that your sign out there? This whole thing? You got that on your sign?
No, that was the cards that I had made up whenever I first come back to Tennessee in 2014 that my brother and I took a part of. There's the front of it, right there, of the cards that I had. But the point that I'm trying to make is this: I've always had a heart for veterans, regardless whether it was Korean veterans, Civil War veterans, or Vietnam veterans, or World War I or World War II veterans. I've always had a heart for veterans, and the main reason why is because
they done their part.
It wasn't just the fact that they'd done their part, but it was the fact that whenever we was growing up as children, our father was very, I ain't gonna say he was mean, because if he was really and truly mean,
He was
I
strict.
think he would have killed us.
He was strict.
He was very strict.
Yeah.
If he'd have been a drinking man, he probably would have killed us. And if we'd have had a sister, other than having 4 boys, I'm pretty sure that something horrible would have happened
You still
to her.
got 2 brothers alive?
None of them are living now. I'm the only sibling left. I'm the only one. But my point is this: whenever our father would discipline us, he wouldn't just tell us what to do. He wouldn't ask us what to do. He'd tell us what to do, and if we didn't do it, we suffered the consequences in doing it. Now, Mr. Woody, I ain't gonna lie to you. probably 92, 95% of the ass whippings that I got, I'm very proud of every one of them that I got. You know why? Because that's what made me who I am today.
Made you stronger.
That's right. It made me stronger.
I keep seeing shit flying around these damn bees.
Well, it's springtime. Stuff's coming alive.
But they
Bees is coming alive. Bugs is out.
But they catch me off guard.
Well, we'll stop it.
I can't.
Well, quit being paranoid over it.
I can't.
You got to. You're gonna have to.
These old wood bees, they ain't gonna hurt you. I just see them moving around and catching
Right,
them.
right. But anyways, our father was very, very strict, and whenever he would fly into us, he wouldn't just fly into us a little bit. He'd fly into us.
Well,
And I picked up a grudge. Not so much about my father, but about the neighborhood that allowed for all that to go on out there, because the beatings that we got.
is that where you're living at now?
Yeah, the beatings that we got, they wasn't just beatings in behind the 4 walls. They was beatings out here in the fields. They was beatings at the stores. They was beatings everywhere. He could be at somebody else's house and all of a sudden fly in our ass, and probably they'd get it too.
Why didn't you run away from home?
But back then that's the way things was dealt. In other words, if your kids was over at my house and they done something that deserved their ass being torn up, I torn their ass up. And the same thing. If my kids was over at your house, you had the right to fly into your kids.
Right.
And that's how we maintain order.
And you can't do that no more.
No.
You be behind bars.
Yes. But that's how they maintain order. But my dad took it a step further towards, he just didn't discipline us, he beat us.
Well, I'd run away from home.
Thought about it.
I would have. My daddy was, he might get a little bit loud towards me, but he never laid a hand on me. I come from a very smooth, mild-mannered family.
Good for you.
There's Joe.
And the reason why I say that I've got a monkey on my back about the community, you may be saying, well, Dennis, hadn't you done already growed out of that by now? Well, I guess in a way, you know, you let bygones be bygones. You let bygones be bygones, but my family, we got to looking at our dad there towards the last, because Miss Woody, I'm not going to lie to you, we used to sit around every time he was out of the house, my 2 older brothers, my mother and myself.
Talk about killing him?
Yes, we'd talk about killing him. Yes, we was talking about who was going to be the trigger man to actually walk in there with a gun and put it to his neck and blow his head plumb off of his shoulders.
That's bad, you know.
Well, it's really bad, but my brother got killed in '76, and that pretty well put an end to that plot that had already done been planned.
What'd your brother, David was his name?
David, my younger brother.
What did he die from anyway?
I'm gonna say he died from a broken heart.
Well,
Have you ever heard anybody dying from a broken heart?
well, it can cause you health problems. I know that.
And what broke his heart was whenever I come back there, how the community not only turned against me, but they turned against him, and they was making his life just as miserable as they was mine. And David, my younger brother, even though he had known abuse through his father, he had never experienced public ridiculation like that from his peers, the people that he went to school with and stuff, and it was just so heartbreaking to him on having to go through that day after day after day. I mean, sometimes we would get aggravated, sometimes 4, 5, 6, 8, 10 times a day. People coming out there screaming and hollering at us, calling all kinds of names. We'd hire attorneys. We'd go in front of the judge, and the judge would basically laugh at us, Mr. Woody. You know why? You know why? Because his brother, Dennis, the one that's talking to you right now, had already achieved a criminal file, and because I had a criminal file, come hell or high water, they wasn't going to help Dennis. Matter of fact, they wished Dennis
would go away.
Much less going to stand in the corner with Dennis. Now they told my brother, they said, now we'll support you, we'll get in the corner with you, but your brother over here, hell no, we ain't helping him not one bit. And the thing about it was, they wasn't helping him neither. They dropped the ball on him, and we had such deep roots in the community that we had actually a great-grandfather that was part of the law system down there in the early 1900s that worked for the state of Tennessee.
In Jacksonville?
No, in Weakley County, where I'm from. Oh. Yes, so we already had a good footing in the early 1990s before the stock market fell in 1929. We already had a good footing in that community from a law perspective. Of course, the 1929 deal, that kind of knocked a lot of people in the head.
Well, that was back then.
That was back then, but my brother knew that we had a statue in the community. And for us to be treated, to be dehumanized, to be demonized and dehumanized like that, it broke his heart. I'm telling you, it broke his heart.
I'd have packed up and moved. I ain't putting up with the community mistreating me.
Raising hell every day, and the law not backing you and not being with you.
I'd have probably had to fold in and sell the joint.
Well, see, that's what they wanted. That's what they wanted me to take my tail like a dog, and
punishing you.
They was punishing me. They were ridiculing me. It was public ridicule.
I couldn't.
And all I could do was basically grit my teeth and hang on, and it was too much for my brother to hang on to, so basically 3 years of that killed him. He died at the age of 51, Mr. Woody. 51, and he was my only sibling. And of course, my wife that I'd married the third and the fourth time, I had a relationship with her for 15 years. Whenever she walked out of my life, so did her children, so did her mother and father, so did her sisters, and also so did my son. My son drove a wedge in between that relationship.
You've been condemned.
I've been condemned.
That's hard to put up with, ain't it?
Well, whenever you're an outcast, yes, sir, it is hard to put up with. But how many people do you know of? You know a little bit about the Bible. How many people in the Bible was ridiculed? How many people in the Bible was persecuted, huh?
A bunch.
Almost all of them, right?
A bunch. For your beliefs.
That's right.
For your beliefs.
For your belief. And it would have been different if I would have been a rapist. It would have been different if I would have beat any of them in a car deal. It would have been different if I was trying to get fresh with their wives or their daughters. It would have been different if I was selling drugs. It would have been different if I was doing something out there towards really committing criminal criminal offenses towards, and I wasn't. I wasn't doing none of the above. All I done was come back home. All I done, Mr. Woody, was come back home to my grandparents' estate that we almost lost completely because of the way that we got hoodooed.
I couldn't have tolerated all that. I'd have come unwound. I'd have shot somebody.
Well, I tell you what it did to me. It brought my nerves down to the point that
I would have.
Let me finish my story.
I'd have lost it and shot somebody that come up my yard.
I did lose it, but I lost it in the aspect of trying to take my own life, because within about 10 days after my brother had died, out of all that aggravation, they actually had the audacity to turn the tables around and come and arrest me for stalking in the first degree over my brother and I being concerned over 3 little children across the road that was renting from the perpetrator, that was making our lives, that was bringing hell into our lives, pertaining to tormenting us that way. They flipped it, and now all of a sudden they got charges on me for me being a stalker. Well, when my brother and I was living, we hired an attorney, and we told the attorney, because my brother already had some bad dealings with the law up there, he said, I don't trust their civil court, their lower court. He said, Jewbee, what we need to do is take it to a higher court, even if we got to go in front of a jury. He said that's the fairest way to go about doing it. So my brother requested, he said, when we take the attorney up there, he said, just tell the attorney that we want to take it to a higher court. He said, it's going to cost us more money, but that's the fairest way to do it. So that's what we done.
I don't know if you can jump it up without going through the court system.
Oh, you got to go through the court system, and the judge itself has to admit, he has to approve it and say, okay,
Right.
okay, we'll go on to a higher court, and that's what we done. But the judge in the lower court knew about all the bullshit that had been going on, not only in my life for the past 3 years, but had been going on in my brother's life for the past 5 years before I ever even come back to Tennessee.
He works for the public, and he's going to do whatever the public wants. He's going to be in favor of the public.
Well, the public
And
had,
if you're outnumbered,
well, the
you
public had
shut
turned
up.
against us.
Hmm?
The public had turned against us
I know
because
that's
of
what I
me.
say.
Because of me.
And the law's going to be on the public side.
Because of me. So about 10 days, maybe 2 weeks at the very most, here I am grieving on my brother. I didn't know what to do. It was such of a loss, and such of a I was in shock, because he was younger, and by and large your younger brother's gonna die after you die, right?
Right.
That's the way it's supposed to go. Well, in the process of all that, hell, they come and arrest me because the attorney that me and my brother had
And
hired
actually took you to jail?
and took me to jail. My brother and I hired this attorney that didn't let me know when the arraignment date was, and because I missed my own arraignment date, hell, that gave them the power now, because I missed my own court date of putting out a warrant for my arrest. The state overcome what we wanted to do, and now they're coming after me. They put me in jail, and then while I'm in jail, within a couple of weeks, I'm
They
still
kept you-
mourning. I'm still upset
They
about
kept you in jail all that long?
kept me in jail for about 40 days. But while I was
You couldn't get out on your own nowhere?
while I was in jail, Mr. Woody, I had a nervous breakdown and I almost take my own life. I took a sheet and tried to hang myself.
Oh, fuck.
And of course, whenever I'd done that, that just gave them a green light towards taking me to a psychiatric ward and having me studied. And whenever I went to Bolivar to have me studied, that's whenever they figured out, well, man, it ain't so much of your psychological problems that you got. They go, you got diabetes. I go, do what? They go, yeah, you got diabetes.
What's that mean? What's it mean to the court?
Oh, it don't mean nothing to the court, but that's what I'm saying is all of it in conjunction was having a bearing on my health. I didn't realize that your nerves would literally kill you.
Yeah, fuck, you can get stressed out.
Yes, sir. You can get depressed to the point that you just don't no longer want to live. It got so bad, Mr. Woody, I didn't even want to get out of my bed and go to the bathroom, much less get in my vehicle and go down there and get a bunch of groceries in the grocery store down there at Walmart. I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to see nobody. Didn't want to be around nobody. I think you've went through that state.
I know what it's all about. I've had a couple meltdowns since I've been here. You just want to give up.
Yes, sir.
I've come out of it, and I hope I don't go back there again. You know, depression is a real thing. It's a disease.
It's an invisible killer that you can't see, but you know it's real. You know it.
Oh yeah, if you're the one going through it, yeah.
That's the reason why I said if my brother died of anything, he died of a broken heart and emotional stress. So emotional to the point that he just couldn't take it.
It'll kill you.
It overwhelmed him.
It'll kill you.
It overwhelmed him.
I can understand.
So after I got out of jail, I went ahead and tried to pick my head up, and I still had, legal stuff to have to do with him because he didn't have no beneficiary. He didn't have no will. I had to go hire an attorney. I mean, me and my brother, we'd go into the same bank to do business at the same bank, and the very same people that knowed all of us wouldn't even let me go into his bank account or wouldn't even let me go into his lockbox until I got an attorney declaring me as me being legal guardian or a state over his account.
Well, they just protecting their ass.
But you would think a little town, that knows everybody.
Is it Jackson?
No, in Kenton, Tennessee, little old one-horse town. You would think that they would have the decency about them to say, well, you know what, we're going to violate company principles, and Jewbee, we know that you're the only left sibling, and we're going to go ahead and honor towards letting you take control over his account. They wouldn't do it.
They'd be jeopardizing their own selves then, throwing them in the fire.
Think so?
Yeah.
But isn't that what's wrong with our country, Mr. Woody? It's become too legalistic.
This is not my.
It's become too legalistic, has it not?
I know it to them well.
I mean, it's got to the point now that if you stop and try to help somebody on the side of the damn road, that their car's on fire, and you try to drag them out, they liable to end up suing you, saying that you had something to do with their back being hurt.
Yep.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Well, that's the way it is. That's the way it is. It didn't used to be like that, but it is now.
So what has caused the corruption in our country? Politics and the lawyers.
Technology.
Technology, part of it. I think technology's gonna finish us off.
It will. It will. Technology is gonna kill us all.
I think so too.
I mean, I probably won't see it in my time, but technology's got way out of control.
But you remember me telling you all that stuff about LBL whenever I was up in that area in 1989, and I didn't, like I said, I didn't have no schooling, I didn't have no computer at that time, I had no knowledge of LBL towards what went on. And whenever I got up into that area, I started knocking on people's doors, and I started hearing testimonies. I started hearing people talking about how that the government basically went in and walked all over their family's estate and basically stole the ground from them, not only on the buyout number 1, not only on the buyout number 2, but on the buyout number 3 was basically whenever Kennedy flew over the property right about a month or 40 days or something like that before he got assassinated, and basically told everybody to get off the property. And that was uncalled for. The buyout number 3 was uncalled for because they'd already been wounded twice.
It's called public domain.
Public domain is holds a barrier in what they done the first time towards flooding the Tennessee side, and public domain had something to do with the second time whenever they flooded the Cumberland River. But public domain didn't have nothing to do with that third buyout.
If you stand in the way of progress, you won't.
Progress for what? You had a whole village down there. You had a whole settlement down there, Mr. Woody. They had to move churches. They had to move courthouses. They had to move their lives. Not once, not twice, but 3 different times.
I was down. They think we were up here fighting.
3 different times. And you know it to be true because you told me about some people that you knew that got beat out of some land down there.
My whole family come from Golden Pond down in there, or my older kin folks.
Yeah.
They come in there and took their land, so y'all got to move. Had to dig up cemeteries. Just on and on.
Dig up cemeteries, move churches, and move.
A lot of it they didn't even bother to move. Ain't no telling how many houses down there that just got flooded.
And it's one thing to do it for progress, as far as the TVA coming in towards building a dam. That way they could produce electricity that basically started in late 20s, early 30s. And then it's one thing for them to build the dam towards flooding out the Cumberland River and doing what they done to that side. But the third buyout was in 1963. That's when it was, whenever Kennedy got assassinated. That was uncalled for. That was uncalled for because now it was up to a bunch of rich people that they was going to basically kick everybody off the property. They was going to steal the land, and I'm going to tell you what the inside concept was. The inside concept was, after they'd done that, Mr. Woody, they was going to go in and they was going to fumigate the forestry, and they was going to get it the way that they wanted it. In the meantime, they was going to wait for about 3 or 4 different generations to die out. And the reason why that they was going to wait for them to die out, that way they wouldn't have such of a resistance movement.
Legal process.
A legal process. They wouldn't have such of a resistance movement. That way, whenever they went in there and opened it back up for the public and turned it into a cash cow, we're talking about selling a 3-acre lot. Instead of it going for $1,200, it'd probably go more like $120,000 or maybe $200,000. Lakefront property like that. So somebody already had their eye on turning LBL into their western cash cow. And a matter of fact, TVA had already done that down towards the Mississippi side. There was a spot of ground down there where they basically bought out a whole island, and then they turned it back over to the public. My God, whenever they turned it back over to the public, some of them pieces of property was probably selling for $100,000, just bare lot, and now there's freaking homes out there probably worth $500,000 to $1 million.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it goes.
They're in control.
Well, sure they are.
They've been in control. Whenever Congress handed them a check, and said, do what you want to do what you need to do, you go do it, and no questions asked. Do you have any idea how much public ground that got flooded out that was Native American ground up there in East Tennessee? I'm talking about villages. I'm talking about all kinds of cemeteries that got flooded out up in that area.
Yeah, ain't no doubt how many people it's still down there underneath the lake. They didn't get them all.
But now that was in respect towards progress.
Well, I don't keep up with it that much, but I know you can't stand in the way of progress. By God, you'll get stomped out.
Don't matter if it's a road, don't matter if it's a post office, don't matter if it's
if they want to come in there and take your land for a parkway coming through right through the middle of your farm,
yeah.
By God, you got 2 farms, one on each side of the parkway, and that's the way that works.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine lost his whole farm like that. Well, he didn't lose his whole farm, but it might as well have. There wasn't no way to get to the other side of the farm, you know.
Right. In other words,
drive 100 miles or 30 miles to get to the other side of his farm.
Yeah.
Look, he had to end up selling out.
Do you remember whenever I was in there with you for about almost a year there in Trigg County? Christian County, because of the dealings that I had going on in Trigg County. Do you remember there towards the last, it was 12, whenever everybody in the news agency thought that the end of the world was going to come because of the Mayans.
Mayan
And I waited the day after because I knew that they was fixing to jump my bond from a $2,500 bond to a $25,000 bond, and basically I jumped the gun on what they was going to do, to the point that whenever I did make bond, I got a telephone call by my attorney that told me, Dennis, they was going to put you on a higher bond to make sure that you stayed put. She said, whatever you do, don't get pulled over by the law, because odds are they probably have already put out
They allow you to leave the state?
A federal warrant. They said, well, that's what she was telling me. She said, because you took it upon yourself and you went out on that $2,500 bond, they can't get you for an actual violation. But what they can do is put your name out there on a warrant. And she said, if that be the case, if you get pulled over, it don't matter if it's in Oklahoma. She said, it don't matter if it's in Arkansas. It don't matter if it's in Tennessee. She said, you're fixing to go back to jail. Mm-hmm. She said, whatever you do not get pulled over.
Did you leave the state?
Yeah, I had to go. I had to get on a Greyhound bus, Mr. Woody, and go all the way back down to Oklahoma to be able to get all my stuff. I have my truck, my trailer. I just got through renting out a 3-bedroom house. Heck, I was making $2,000 a week down there.
Yeah, that's good money.
I was making good money. I didn't need to be.
Who put up your bond money?
I did. I had $2,500.
Oh, did you? Why didn't you bond that from the get-go?
Because I was trying to wait it out to see what all was going to go on. And of course, whenever I went up there that one time, and
what, to Trigg County?
In Trigg County, and
Judge Woodall
and my public attorney. Well, that's what they are. They're public attorneys. Defenders.
They're useless.
It's actually a joke.
That's why I got so much time on this last DUI, because they changed the law. Instead of going back 5 years, they went back 10 years, and they changed the law while I was already in jail, and they should not have treated me like that. When I was arrested, they go back 5 years, and I wouldn't have got maybe a year, but they went back 10 years.
Well, my public defender, she walks back there.
That's the only bitch I got about it.
She walks back there after I'd already been in there for about maybe 3.5, 4 months. I'm back there in that little old cell there in Trigg County, fixing to go in front of the judge, and she comes back there and she talks to me. Flemings was her name, Miss Flemings. And she goes,
I don't remember all your names, son.
She goes, they thinking something wrong with you. I go, something wrong with me. I go, Miss Flemings.
You done been through KCPC.
I go, no, this was before KCPC.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I go, Miss Flemings, I was settled down. I was paying federal taxes and state taxes in the state of Oklahoma. I had a good job. I just got through renting out a 3-bedroom house. I said, the people had done already basically railroaded me in 2010 towards sending me up to MCC in downtown Chicago being studied, of a 6-month study. I go, before that in 2007, they thought that I was trying to do bodily harm towards blowing up the Kentucky Dam up there, because I told them that God had showed me that there was going to be electrical disturbances. I said, I've already went through 2 evaluations. One of them was a county evaluation, and the other one was a federal evaluation. I said, I don't feel like that I should have to go before another evaluation. She said, in other words, you're not going to volunteer? I said, no. She come back about 15 minutes later, and she said, well, it don't matter what you think. They're ordering it. They're ordering for you to go, and you ain't going to have no say-so over it.
When you're captured, you're captured.
And at that point in time, they didn't order for me to go back into a federal study, in which that's what they should have had, because once more, the charges was being implemented from where? LBL. Why did LBL have the power to be able to reach out and go beyond the state lines? Because if 2 telephone calls is non-threatening in between a period of 90 days, you can't get me for telephone harassment. So they come up with this concocted idea. Well, we'll reach out there with it being a federal park, and we'll take it on a federal level towards 1 to 5 years for stalking. And that's whenever they went all the way to Oklahoma, grabbed me up, and dragged me back. So now I'm standing in front of this judge, and he's saying, well, you're going to go to LaGrange, Kentucky, and you're going to be studied by our doctors. And
LaGrange?
LaGrange, Kentucky.
You went to KCPC, didn't you?
That's KCPC, LaGrange.
Luther Luckett.
Huh?
Luther Luckett. That's where I went. Luther Luckett.
Is that a town?
That's LaGrange.
That's LaGrange.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're right. But Luther Luckett's
Anyways, at that point in time,
facility.
I was defenseless. But you know what? It's a
You
good
was captured.
it's a good thing that I didn't volunteer. You know why? Because if I would have volunteered for that study, I'd have probably got a bill from the state of Kentucky for about $10,000 or $15,000 saying, here, you owe us this money. You volunteered for this study. No, I didn't volunteer for no study. Anyways, whenever they take me to LaGrange, Kentucky, which is way on the other side of freaking Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, it's like 2.5, 3 hours on the other side.
I went there.
You did?
Yeah. KCPC.
You didn't go there whenever I was there, whenever me and you was together.
No.
You must have went there afterwards.
Yeah.
Really? So you know what it's all about. They put you in a room by yourself. I mean, it's kind of like a hospital in a way.
Yeah.
But in another way, I mean, they want to analyze you. They want to make sure that you can take care of yourself.
You.
They want to make sure that you can wash your own clothes. They want to make sure that you can take care of yourself as far as your hygiene.
They're going to make sure you're capable of taking care of yourself and you're not a fucking lunatic.
Right.
Because there is lunatics in there.
Oh, yes. No doubt.
Stark raving a lunatic.
That's right. And dope has caused a lot of these people to become lunatics. You know that, right?
Well, sure.
They were saying on the news the other day that a sugar pack, a regular sugar pack that sugar comes in, that if that was filled full of what do they call that drug, that new drug out there now? Fentanyl.
That's a killer.
They said if it was filled full of fentanyl, that it has the adequacy of killing over 500 people.
I know that fentanyl is.
They said
I know
fentanyl,
what I hear.
no bigger than a sugar thing that you put in your coffee.
Sugar pack.
A sugar pack would have the ability to kill over 500 people.
Who makes fentanyl? Why do they have it out here on the fucking market?
Fentanyl is made for a downer pertaining to Demerol and morphine. It's for a painkiller. It's not like meth. Meth is an upper. Yeah. Meth keeps you up all day and all night, and you don't eat. And some people stay actually awake for 16.
4 days.
No, more than that. I've heard of people staying awake for over 2 weeks.
God damn.
And never get no sleep. That's the reason why they go around tweaking all the time. That's the reason why they're picking at themselves. That's the reason why they lose all their teeth, Mr. Woody.
And you can go out here at the Walmart right now and walk through there and pick them out.
Just about it.
Crackheads.
Just about it. Just about it.
I can tell by looking at one.
Just about it. But, you know, cocaine's always been a factor here in America, and you can go all the way back to the days of China, whenever cocaine was a big deal.
I like cocaine.
And cocaine basically is not only it's a painkiller, but it's also a stimulant towards bringing you up to where you can stay awake.
Right.
And that's, if the truth be known, probably half of the people you see on TV that's either newscasters or Hollywood players, they're probably on some sort of form of cocaine. That way they don't swell up like me and you do.
Right.
They don't get fat like me and you do. They stay skinny and you know.
Keep going.
Keep going. Yeah, they got the power to keep going. But now what that's doing to all the other organs, who knows? Who knows?
It makes you grow old quick.
Yeah. And you can see it in their face, you know, and you can see the wrinkles in their face.
They lose weight.
Uh-huh.
And it has its toll on its kidneys, your liver, and everything.
That's
else.
right. Once one organ starts failing, usually another one right in behind it starts failing.
About dope, it's progressive. You know, you can't just do a little bit. The more you do, the more you want.
Uh-huh. Well, didn't all that stuff originally come from the medicine man?
Well, sure.
It
come out of the jungle.
All the way back into the Mayan days.
It come out of the jungle.
The medicine man. We'd take this herb and take this herb and take this root and mix them all together and drink this substance.
And make you feel better.
Yeah, and make you feel better. And if they didn't do nothing else, they affected your psyche to the point that they made you think that you was going to feel better. And even though you was just drinking old brown sugar water, you still thought that you was drinking something.
It's a head game.
It's a head game. It's a head game.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I went up to LaGrange, within 24 hours, I still had my uniform on that I was wearing whenever I was working for the body shop in Oklahoma. And the doctor walks up to me, and really and truly, it's your fault. It's your fault that you drew that picture for me, and I took that picture up there to LaGrange, and I hung that picture. Don't laugh, Mr. Woody. I hung that picture on the wall because I was proud of your artwork, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you draw that picture of me. And the first thing that doctor looked at me, and then he looked at the wall, and he looked at me again. He said, "What is this?" I said, "That's me." I said, I had a good friend that drawed me out towards being humorous, pretending to me standing up with a sign in front of the TVA with the big smokestacks in behind, and me saying the end is near, the end is near.
You still got that picture?
Lord, yes. He looked at me. He said, "The end of what?"
Well, what the fuck is it? You have to explain it to him?
I said, "The end of the world." He said, "That's it." He said, "I think you're delirious. I think you're delusional, and I'm going to order for you to get on this Risperdal drug. That's a psychiatric medication." And I said, "I'll be damned if you're going to order anything like that for me." I said, "I don't need nothing." I said, "What I need is for you to let me out so I can go back to Oklahoma and start making $2,000 a week." He said, "I'll be damned." He said, "You're going to take this drug." I said, "No, I'm not." He said,
They can court order you.
That's what he done. He said, "You give me just about 72 hours and I'll show you." Sure enough, about 3 days went by and he come back with a stack of papers about that thick that Woodall had signed off on. And Judge Woodall wasn't nothing but a crackhead. I've been told that he's being ate up by cancer right now. You could tell by looking at him in the pictures that all his teeth was falling out of his freaking head. He wasn't nothing but a meth head himself.
Well, these damn lawyers and judges and all of them are. They can do their drugs, but we can't.
That's right. That's right.
You know.
So whatever he's going through right now, I feel sorry for him in one way, but in another way, it couldn't happen to a better person, because he knew darn good and well that what they done to me, Mr. Woody, LBL, they done already went at me from a federal judge. I done already stood in front of a federal judge in Paducah, and that's whenever they come at me and they said I had another defender called Wildesworth. What a name, Wildesworth. Crazy name, Wildesworth. And he come all the way from freaking Louisville, Kentucky to represent me, right? He was my public defender. And he said, well,
Public prosecutors, what they are.
he goes, well, they got you in between a hard place and a rock. I said, how's that? He said, because you have made an alleged threat that was recorded on LBL recording that you was going to go after a darkly complected individual that you felt like was Satan in the flesh, and that you was going to take his life. He said,
Did you say all that?
Did you say all that on this recorder? And I had to think it out for a second, because I thought maybe it may have been a trick question. And then I thought, well, we'll be honest. So I said, yeah. He go, well, you can't do that.
That's a threat.
I go, why can't you do that? He goes, because that's premeditated murder. He said, in the state of Kentucky, that's a Class C felony. He said, just for you even mentioning that you're premeditating towards going to kill somebody, even though you don't kill them, he said that can be looked upon as being a Class C felony.
Did they charge you with a felony down here in Cook County?
They offered to.
Well, that's mighty kind of them.
They gave me an alternative. They said, if you agree to go get studied up wherever that you're going to be studied, because whenever they flip your name through the system, they really don't know where you're going to go.
Right.
So I got, I guess, lucky towards going to MCC in downtown Chicago, the very town that I was basically born at, north of Chicago. Yeah, that's where I was born at, up in Round Lake.
I've been up there one time. I don't want to go back.
I don't either, but I mean, it's bad enough down south, much less go up north. But what they was hoping for, Mr. Woody, whenever I agreed to that, they was hoping that I was going to go up there and start telling them all this spooky stuff about the Antichrist,
You gotta watch
the
what you
mark
say
of the
when you're-
beast, the one world government,
You
the
gotta watch what you say when
666.
you're
They was hoping that I was going to be stupid and go up there and start saying all this stuff. And the next thing you know, the doctor, which was Dr. Dana at the time that was doing the study, he would have basically marked me up towards saying that this man, he's unfit.
Lock
He's
him up.
unfit to be out in the eyes of the public. We think he's a harm to himself and a harm to possibly the community. And because of it, we're not going to ask for him to be studied. We're going to ask for him to be committed. And that's what they was hoping for. LBL was hoping for that whenever they took me, whenever they got me in 2010, whenever they nabbed me up, they was hoping that I was going to be a screwball and that I was going to go up there and basically put a noose around my own neck. But you know what? I didn't say a word.
Well,
you know why I didn't say a word?
Because you knew better.
Well, not only because I knew better, but because God set it up. Mr. Woody, listen to me. Listen to me. God set it up to where all that paperwork in Paducah never made it to Chicago.
Yeah.
It never made it to Chicago.
Hey, Joe.
Hey, I'll be up here in a few minutes.
All right.
I will charge my battery.
All right. I'll be here.
And Dr. Dana kept asking me, he said, we've already done requested to get your paperwork now 2 different times. He said, we don't have a clue what you're up here for. Could you explain to us what you're up here for? I said, sir, the only thing I know is that I had a problem with some forest rangers up in a place called LBL, and these people obviously thought that I needed to be studied, so that's the reason why I'm up here to be studied.
Sometimes you
So
gotta-
he took me through every test the same way as he would any normal person. And because he knew that I was illiterate at the time, and I still am about halfway, he went ahead and had special machines that had voice tapes on it that would literally read questions to me.
Yeah.
That way I could answer them. That way I knew for a fact what I was answering. You know, whenever all that come back to the federal judge in 2010,
Yeah.
you know what I scored?
I don't have to.
A plus.
Sometimes you gotta lie to save yourself.
I wasn't lying.
Yeah, but sometimes you do have to lie.
No, I was not
If
lying.
you tell them what's really on your mind, fuck, they'll lock you up.
Everything that they asked me, I went ahead and obligated myself to submit to their questionnaire, and that's the reason why I got an A plus in everything that I asked. They said I was normal. They said I cooperated with all the doctors and the staff. They said I didn't get in no fights or nobody that was in the pod. There was like 90 people in a pod of people that was being studied too, and some of them people was really whacked.
No shit.
I mean, they was really whacked. But at the same time, there was doctors in there. There was one guy in there that was a professor from a college somewhere, and the reason why he was in there was because they found porn on his computer, on his school computer. And I guess it must have been sensitive porn pertaining to kitty porn.
He
Must have been kitty porn.
He must have brought attention to him somehow.
Well, he not only lost his job, but he got evaluated, and there towards the last, I guess they probably put a sentence on him.
Yeah.
I didn't know that they can sentence you of having stuff like that
Porn.
on your computer.
Well, I didn't either.
Yeah,
But he must have brought attention to himself.
but there
somehow.
was some really smart people in there that I was with. But there was some really Fruit
Some-
Loops in there
Hey,
too.
look here, you can be smart and be a real screwball too.
There was one guy that I remember in there that was being studied. He must have had some money, and he thought that he was going to be slick, and he was going to go to another country, because in some of those countries you can actually marry at the age of 13. Yeah, I don't forgot what country this was, but he'd done
Third
already.
world country.
It was a third world country, and while he was over there, he drawed enough attention that somebody checked him out, and they nabbed him up for being a pedophile. And the reason why they got him for being a pedophile is because he never gave up his United States citizenship. Because he didn't give up his United States citizenship, he had to abide by the United States laws. Now, if he would have gave up his United States citizenship and took on, I think it was either Korea or somewhere where he went over there, he could have got away towards having those real young girls like that.
Well, Vietnam and places like in Asia,
Yeah.
fuck, you can get married 12 years old, I guess.
Well, some of them places like Saudi Arabia, they don't have no age limit. You can marry them at the age of 8.
Yeah,
It's gross.
it's third world countries.
It's gross, man. It really is. It's gross. It's sick. But this guy was sick, but he was also sick that he got caught because he wasn't smart enough to outsmart the law. And they had him put back in there towards a psychiatric evaluation. While I was in there was a second guy. There was the second most wanted guy from Mexico, that escape artist. I don't forgot his name. He was in there. There was 2 or 3 people in there from Taliban, escape artists, and all these other type people. Some very vicious people, criminals. And we're talking about people that has already done killed several people with their hands. Yes, dangerous, very dangerous.
Well, when you go to jail, you never know what you're going to be locked up with.
No, you have no idea, and you have no idea the circumstances that could befall up into your life. You could go in there for just a misdemeanor charge, going to be in there maybe for 30 days, and the next thing you know, you had to kill somebody while you was in there to defend your life. And the next thing you'd wind up in there for the rest of your life.
What would have happened to me if I stabbed that guy in the neck with them pencils?
You wouldn't be sitting here talking to me right now, would
No, I
you?
wouldn't.
But Woody, I was trying to stop you from doing that because I know that you was going to do that. I know you done gathered up all them. How many pencils? You have 30 pencils as sharp as a freaking needle.
25 probably.
25 or 30 needles. Done put what 100 freaking rubber bands around all them pencils. You basically had a stake.
It was a weapon.
You had a stake.
But I done thought about it, and he done pushed me over the edge. And I come back down. If I could have caught him, if he hadn't outrun me around them tables and all, it would have been a bad thing for me and him both, because I would have stabbed his fucking ass in his goddamn throat. See, I could have got in trouble over that.
It could have costed you your whole life.
Yeah.
Your whole life could have been thrown away over one decision like that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. You can go into jail with just a penny charge, and the next thing you know, if you don't watch,
you can get pushed over the limit.
and the next thing you know, you wind up in there the rest of your life.
Yeah.
The rest of your life.
And
Because you was at the wrong place at the wrong time.
And it could very well happen.
Yep. Hey, you got any water? Can you give me a glass of water?
I got a Gatorade thing.
I do a Gatorade. Whatever you got. What town did you say this was, Woody?
Huh?
What's this place called? Madisonville?
Yeah.
Madisonville, Kentucky. 30 miles north of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. This is the friend that I had the acquaintance with whenever I was locked up in Christian County Jail, because Trigg County didn't have a jail over the Trigg County charges, being in a pod with about 25 dudes in it. I stayed with this individual here for almost a year.
It's wet and it's cold.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I was on the
I
top
don't
bunk.
like them.
I was on the top bunk. You was on the bottom bunk. What happened during the phase of our stay?
I mean, what happened?
What happened pertaining to me and you basically being there locked up together for almost a year, and with me being on the top bunk, you being on the bottom bunk? What was going on routinely that I just hated you for?
I was throwing them candy wrappers up there in the bunk.
See what I'm saying?
I gotta take a leak.
It was a way of letting time go away, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But you would steadily be drawing and stuff, and I still say that picture is what triggered that doctor up there in that state study up there in LaGrange, Kentucky. That's what triggered him by saying, you know what? I think you're delirious and delusional, and I'm going to order for you to be put on this drug. Mr. Woody, whenever I started taking that drug, I was about 240 pounds because I could still get up and down in that top bunk. But after about 90 days, you seen me swell up like a bullfrog, didn't you? Huh? That was over that medication. And come to find out, I done a research on the medication. Come to find out that the drug manufacturer had already been sued by several hundred people all over the United States and several different states. And I contacted an off-the-wall attorney. I don't know what bunch it was. It was some of those promo deals that you can call. And I explained to them about the Risperdal, the drug, and they said, yeah, we're very familiar with that. They go, tell us the situation. So once I explained the situation to them about the Trigg County judge, Judge Woodall, they got back with me about a day later and they said, well, you can't sue the drug manufacturer. I said, why? They said, because you was ordered by a judge of taking that drug. I said, okay, how about me suing the judge? They said they're under a special immunity clause, and the only way that you can basically go after a judge is if he basically killed somebody or he done something so criminal that there's no way for him to get away with it, that you got all kinds of proof. They said, you can't sue a judge. And I'm thinking to myself, well, I'm basically screwed then. Because here I am, I done already fallen off of a 4-story building in 79, broke both my legs, crushed both my ankles. Took me about 4 years to finally get back on my feet to recuperate from that. I had to get involved in a brand new occupation from going from construction, commercialized construction in hanging steel, to basically becoming an auto body technician. I'd done the auto body technician thing for about 35 years towards being self-independent. I got off the disability, and now this freaking judge has put me on this medication and caused another 100 pounds to be put on them broken bones and them messed up ankles. So basically, it was an injury being added to another injury that was causing both injuries to be that much more worse. I guess that's what you call in between a hard place and a rock, being screwed. Wouldn't you say?
What'd you say?
You okay?
Yeah, I had to take a look.
But they told me, they said you can't sue the drug manufacturer because you was ordered by a judge of taking it, and you can't sue the judge because the only way to sue a judge, because they're under an immunity clause, they said you'd basically have to have some sort of charge like he killed somebody to be able to actually sue a judge.
Caught in a trap.
Caught in their trap. I didn't realize that they're under diplomatic immunity to the point that these sheriffs and these judges, and that's just like, you know, a lawyer, if he gets called on jury duty, did you know that he don't have to go to jury duty because he's an attorney?
Well, I didn't know that, but it sounds about right though.
Uh-huh.
Because he can
manipulate the system. He knows
he
how.
can have an opinion.
Yeah, he can have a legal opinion that would persuade the rest of the people. Plus, they look at his occupation towards it being a little bit above the step of everybody else's.
And he'll be a foreman.
Yeah.
A jury, and everybody will go with him.
That's right. But of course, doctors is also immune of having to go to jury trial. You know that?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, because of their occupation being more important. They don't have to go to a jury trial.
Did you get that thing open?
Yeah, I got it open.
It's hard, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty hard.
I had to take a pair of pliers and open mine the other day.
Yeah, it was good.
I don't like it.
It was good.
It's cold and it's wet.
But my point is this: whenever I was telling you about all that stuff that had happened to me up there around that Kentucky Dam, and whenever I was telling you about,
You know you can't cross the Kentucky Dam no more?
no, they turned it into like a spillway.
I don't know what they done to it, but it's been it's been a while since I've been down there, but you can't cross it down there.
Mr. Woody, they used me as a pawn up there in LBL, around Grand Rivers, to quicken, because after 9/11,
You mean quicken what?
to quicken the project towards building a bridge. That way they could shut the dam down and use it as a spillway now, to where it was basically public walkway.
That's still a power
They
plant.
used me as an urgency thing to go to Frankfort, Kentucky to say, look here, we got somebody down here that's trying to do something to us down here. We need to go ahead and get this project off the road towards building this road. I think it cost about $400 million to build that freaking bridge, about a quarter of a mile just east, I guess it was maybe north of that dam,
A Kentucky Dam?
Kentucky Dam.
I don't know.
But did you know that while me and you was in jail together, that's whenever that barge hit that bridge over there in Aurora, Kentucky, and knocked that whole section out, and it costed these people that was working in LBL another hour and a half drive, because they'd have to go all the way up towards Grand Rivers to be able to come to work, or they'd have to go all the way down to Dover and then come back to work.
I don't like that new bridge down there. I crossed it one time. I have a fear of bridges.
Why?
Because I see them crashing in the river all the time.
Well, they got a bridge.
And they don't maintain.
They got a bridge in south of Illinois that they just shut down over there that goes, is basically, that bridge was built primarily for farmers to go from one side of the Mississippi to the other, and they've been using it for a major corridor, and they said that they found a bunch of cracks in it and they had to shut it down. That was on the news about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Well, that's why I say I don't trust bridges. I don't like crossing big rivers.
Well, your picture got me in trouble, because if I didn't take that picture and hang it on that wall,
Now, whose fault was that? Who put it on the wall?
I was proud of that picture. I was really proud of that picture, because you added a lot of humor to it, but at the same time, you added what needed to be added that was going on, that was circulating around my life at the time. You had LBO in there, you had TVA in there, and you had me hanging on to a sign, the end is near, the end is coming, or something like that.
That doctor didn't have a sense of humor. That's what his fault
No,
was.
no. Whenever he seen that sign, and he probably read the report that come from Trigg County,
And he flipped out.
he flipped completely out. And he told me whenever all that paperwork come in, he said, now, you're going to take this drug Risperdal if we have to tie you down to a bed and
Put you in a straitjacket.
and pump it up into you. He said, now it's up to you whether or not you want to take this easily or do it the hard way. And you know,
When you captured, you captured.
right then, I looked at the situation and I said, you know what? This is the same thing as being raped.
It is.
And I was raped.
And you ain't got no say-so about it.
And to be quite honest with you, I think they kidnapped me, because what they done up there in LBL, they put it first on a federal charge. That's what gave the long arm of the law the extension to be able to go out beyond their borders of their state and go after me. And then after they got me, they reduced it down to 2 individuals that was working for LBL, and then they put it on a state charge like it was coming from Trigg County. You talk about crawfishing. I don't even think what they done was legal, Mr. Woody. I really don't. I don't think you can go after somebody on a federal charge and then reduce it down to a county charge. I don't
know nothing about it.
And as far as Mr. Hawkins and Lisa Hawkins and Dwayne Camry up there, I don't have a bit more idea where they live than a man on the moon. To be quite honest with you, I don't want to know where they live. I don't want to know where they live.
Ain't no reason.
Ain't no reason to, but I know this. One day they're going to have to give an account for the hell that they put me through. Because like I said, they took about a year out of my life in that event. And then in 2010, they took about 6 months out of my life. And then in 2007, before the ice storm hit, they took some time out of my life then. Plus, I had to pay almost $200 for a record bill after they impounded my automobile. And plus, while I was on the other side of the Tennessee River in Aurora, Kentucky, down there by something down there, had something to do with something down there.
I know where Aurora's at.
Well, okay, I was down there, and about less than 10 days later.
It's right across the Barkley Bridge.
That's right. About 10 days later. About 10 days later, they come down there again, 2 state troopers, 2 TVI people, FBI guy, a state trooper, and somebody. It was about 7 or 8 automobiles that come down there at about 11 o'clock at night in that little campsite, and kept all their lights going with them LTD Crown Victoria cars, and literally probably gathered up every freaking bug and mosquito from this side of hell and back that swarmed my freaking tent while I was standing there being prosecuted and being ate up by freaking mosquitoes for about 2 hours. In the meantime, they're going through all my stuff. They're under my vehicle.
Okay.
They got the hood open. They're trying to take the panels off the vehicle. They're looking for bombs. They're looking for explosives. And the whole time, Mr. Woody, I was trying to help them. I was telling them that God had showed me that there was going to be major electrical disturbance.
Get out of there.
What cat is that? Whose cat is
Ain't
that?
my cat.
You got strange cats coming into your own house? Get them out of there. Run them out of there.
Get out of here.
Get!
Get out of here. Get.
And don't come back. You're not welcome here.
He'll be back. I got cats running in and out of the house all the time.
Lord God. I wouldn't put up with that.
Well, I don't. I got a fly swatting and I bust their asses, but I'm not gonna shoot them or nothing like that. It's my own damn fault because I feel sorry for them and I feed them.
I got you.
But I don't want them in the house.
But I'm glad that we met. You know, that one time that you was in there, I think you whenever me and you was in there, I only stayed in there for about 10 months, and you had about another year to go. But I remember at the time whenever you called me, I was down in St. Augustine, Florida, and you had just gotten out of jail. And you called me that night. You said, Dennis, where are you? I said, I'm down here in Florida. He said, I'm coming down there with you.
I remember that.
I'm coming down there with you,
I was
man.
gonna catch the bus.
Yeah. You was fixing to get the heck out of Kentucky, wasn't you?
Yep.
You've lived here all your life, though, haven't you?
Kentucky, yeah.
Never nowhere else,
Uh,
other than Vietnam.
I was down in West Palm Beach before I got drafted, but I didn't ever call that home. That was just, I was young and wild and wanted to be down there.
About what year was that?
60, 69.
So you was already an adult.
That's
You
where I
was,
got drafted at.
you was already 18 years old,
Yeah.
19, whenever you was down there?
Yeah, 19. That's where I got drafted at, down in Coral Gables, down that side of Miami.
It was.
Yeah.
Was the war that intense at that time?
I guess it depends on where you was at.
Which way they sent you?
Yeah. I've heard people talk about being down in Saigon and all that. Fuck, that was a big party for them.
I'm sure.
But up north where I was at, it wasn't no party.
You was down there in the bushes, wasn't you? I mean, in the swamps,
Well, I
wasn't
was
you?
up in the mountains.
Oh, you was in the mountains.
Yeah, Ashaw Valley.
Okay.
Was on little mountain tops.
You're lucky that you didn't get Ancient Orange,
Well, yeah, you're right. I had a
because
buddy-
they was doing a lot of spraying around there.
I had a buddy of mine died of Agent Orange. Me and him was in the same unit.
I'll be darned.
Henpeck. He died a couple, 3 years ago.
I imagine a man that witnessed all that, seeing them little children strapping bombs on their bodies, basically using them as a decoy, walking up, gonna take out the whole platoon, and you having to kill a little kid, maybe 7, 8, 10 years old. I just imagine that would have a bearing on
Well, that was
turning
just-
somebody to being an alcoholic.
It was just a lot of bombing and shelling and shooting, and it wasn't no.
Was it anything necessary, really? How come they couldn't have worked it out? How come they couldn't have
I
talked it out?
I can't talk about all that because I don't know. I'm not a politician.
Some people say that was a political war.
It was. You know damn well it was. I don't know why the United States sends soldiers off to these little countries to fight these wars. I think it's population control.
Do you?
There's reasons behind it that I'm not sure of.
Imagine whenever you
Political.
come home, it took you a long time to be able to have a good night's sleep, didn't it?
It did. I still don't sleep good.
Still wake up hot flashes and stuff.
That's why I have to play music, drown that noise around. Somebody slam a door if I'm asleep.
And that's the reason why you're so spooked now. I mean, at least a little sound, you got to see you flinch. You get real flinchy real quick.
Yeah, it just don't go away. Who the fuck is this?
Don't know.
It ain't the police, is it?
No. Driving some little white vehicle. It's like a Honda.
I can't hardly tell these police cars up there in Madisonville. I don't recognize them. Most of them are white.
You know, really and truly, you're in a good place. You're out in the country. You're getting the best of the two worlds. You're out in the country, but you're less than a quarter of a mile from a major store somewhere, or not even probably a quarter of a mile. You could walk. You could walk down there at the.
I have before I got my scooter back over here. I have walked up the dog store, you know. Shit wore me out. I ain't used to all that walking. I don't like walking.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you at all.
I like that little scooter.
Do you?
You gonna ride it?
No, that's okay. I'm gonna pass. I'm gonna pass on that. It does look kind of cool, but it's kind of like a baby Harley, isn't it?
Yeah. That's what it's advertised as, electric Harley Lowboy.
It is. Huh. So, I guess you're just kind of waiting it out now?
I'm just putting in time.
Putting in time? Hoping that you don't have no more confrontations with the popo.
Right.
Boy, you spent a lot of money with them, didn't you?
Fuck. Spent a lot of time.
Spent a lot of time, spent a lot of money, a lot of aggravation.
You lose every damn thing, you go to jail. You lose every damn thing you got.
Uh-huh. See, that's what they was hoping with me whenever they went to Oklahoma, because I was fortunate that I knew somebody there that I was working with that went ahead and got my keys to my truck and got all my tools and got what stuff that I had in my house and took and parked it in behind his house. That's the reason why whenever I made bail, first thing I done, I go to Clarksville, I get on a Greyhound, cost me, I don't know, $100 or something like that to go from here to Oklahoma, and it was right around Christmas time, after 12, right around Christmas time, and my buddy picked me up and took me to his house, and I got and handed him my keys and said, there you go.
Well, you're lucky to have a good friend like you.
I'm very lucky. I'm indebted to that guy the rest of my life. The rest of my life. Because to meet somebody in another state and only work with them for about 6 months,
You're lucky.
I'm lucky. I'm lucky that he didn't clean my plow.
I ain't got no friends up here. The guy across the street over here. He's what I can call a friend. You know, you have to know somebody a good while to really be a friend.
Absolutely.
He's an acquaintance and a friend. And Joe down there is fixing to mow my yard, one not riding a lawnmower. He's an acquaintance and a friend, you know.
Well, that girl, is she kind of fresh? She kind of knew that was here whenever I first got here?
Yeah, I ain't known her 2 weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
So she just kind of popped in your life?
I was out here fucking around and heard another girl stop by here talking to me. You know.
Well, Mr. Woody, you got to watch people today, because
I know that.
with times being hard, man, people will use you and take advantage of you
I know
quicker
that.
than you can freaking bat an eye.
Look here,
You don't have nothing in there
I don't
that's
trust
valuable, do you? Like a lockbox filled full of money or
no,
nothing, do you?
Shit, no.
I was gonna say if you did, she'd probably already done tagged onto it by now.
No, I know her, but I don't. I ain't got a full-fledged trust to her.
Well, you ain't known her that long.
Right. She's friendly and she's somebody to talk to. That's it.
Right.
I don't need a love affair with no.
You know what?
Nobody.
You know what I got to say about people like that?
What's that?
You keep them on a very short leash, and you feed them with a long spoon.
Right.
In other words, you keep an eye. Well, I'm gonna trust you with one eye open, and yeah,
I know.
absolutely.
I
And you know, as the economy continues to crash, and things get worse and worse pertaining to fuel going up, inflation going up.
Drugs are so damn bad. I know back over in here, I know there's a lot of drug heads back over in there.
Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere.
Fucking drugs are just out of control.
This camper right here, I gave $1,000 for it. It's a
Damn.
Fleetwood.
That's a good looking camper.
It's parked over there in my backyard.
Yeah.
I basically just use those other campers
Which one
for
you
storage.
Which one you live in?
The one I live in is the one that's had that cross and that flag in it on the front.
Yeah.
And then I wound up purchasing another one.
What the hell you buying for? If you don't need them to live in or nothing.
I got one for an office. I got two for storage. I got another one that I do something else with. I don't have a big 2,500 square foot house. I live in a barn. I live in a pole barn.
Why don't you build you a cabin or something? You can build a 1,100 foot house, a cabin, or it needs one bedroom, a kitchen, and a bathroom, and a living room.
Well, to be quite honest, at the age of 62, with me being a diabetic, I was going to tell you a while ago, I'm scheduled this fall for an operation of having my left ankle fused.
Yeah.
And that's probably going to take me at least 6 months to a year to get over that. And that's providing that I don't have no complications with me being a diabetic. I don't know if you know much about diabetics, but you can just get you can just get a freaking ingrown toenail that if you don't watch could
Go staph infection or something.
turn into staph infection and wind up having to have your freaking toe cut off. And then if that didn't heal right, then you have to have your foot cut off. And if that didn't heal right, you're liable to have your whole leg cut off, and it could actually cost you your freaking life.
Could. Blood poison set up in you.
Anything.
Blood clot.
Anything at the age of 62 being a diabetic. I ain't never been a diabetic, and it's been a mind blower for me, man.
Well, diabetes is a pretty common disease.
It is, and it can be controlled as long as you take your medication right and as long as you exercise and you stay active. It's whenever you lay down, you stay down, that's whenever you're in trouble.
That's when trouble sets in.
Yep, and a lot of that was based upon depression, and my son actually helped me get out of that a little bit by turning me on to a drug called Adderall. I got my doctor to take it because I was getting to the point that I couldn't even drive without almost nodding off. I'd have to pull off and get to sleep. And I ain't never been that way. And I told the doctor what was going on. She said, okay. So she started me out on 5 milligram, 10 milligram, 50 milligram. Yeah, it's kind of, it's for people with, what they call it, NHD or something like that, where you can't concentrate real good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But this right here is fixing to come up. Of course, whenever I was out there and I investigated all that, they was trying to make me out to be a terrorist over that Timothy McVeigh deal, just because I was over there
nosing around.
nosing around. And they was trying to make me out to be a homegrown terrorist right up here at the Kentucky Dam. And I was trying to help them. But you know where it originally started at, Mr. Woody?
Where?
2005 in the very county I'm living in right now, Weakley County.
I heard somebody talking.
Weakley County, Tennessee. My own people tried to take me down.
You're just a damn troublemaker, Dennis.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Because I'm trying to help people?
You're civil disobedient.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, maybe I'm trying to live up to my name. My name's Dennis, and Dennis has always been a menace.
Okay.
Oh, I was going
You
to
ever think about changing your name?
There you go.
James Henry?
This is my son.
He's a good looking kid.
Mm-hmm.
Got 2 grandkids?
No, those was somebody else. I don't even know them kids. But he recently married a girl from Ukraine.
Yeah.
And she's pregnant. Soon to have a little girl.
How in the hell did he get hooked up with somebody from Ukraine?
She had
Mail order bride?
already married somebody over here at the States that was in the military. And this is my property on the corner now. I built a memorial. Let me see here. Right there. After George Floyd died.
Yeah.
In honor of all the mass shootings,
Victims.
the victims. And I just added something to it about a week ago, and it was so many deaths, but because of the shootings, I couldn't have enough room to put it on, so I had to summarize it. I had to summarize it by saying this is what occurred, and I also mentioned Waco on that memorial, and I also mentioned the Oklahoma bombing on that memorial.
Yeah. You got too much shit in your yard, Dennis.
Well, I'm boisterous, and there's nothing wrong with that, because we as an Americans are supposed to be able to do that without being punished, without being punished,
Right.
without being publicly scrutinized.
Freedom of speech.
But here he is again, my son.
Yeah, he's a good looking kid. How old is he? About 35?
He's born in '79.
What's that next?
I think about 37, right at 40. But what did you think about that ordeal up there in Nashville last week? Whenever those
Kids got shot.
no, not the kids being shot. I know that kids being shot happened about a month ago. Whenever the Tennessee Senate fired them told them two black boys that they no longer had a job, but took the white girl that was working and basically done the exact same thing that they done and let her go. What do you think about that?
No, I don't know. I'm not really familiar with it. I've seen it on television.
You didn't see all the protesting going on up there at the Capitol?
Nope.
You did?
Sometimes I get tired of watching the news. It's damn depressing, and I have to find something.
Really?
News is all they tell you is the bad news. They don't tell you no good news. There was a shooting up there in Louisville.
Yesterday,
Yep.
up at a bank, killed 3 or 4 people. Matter of fact, the way I understand it, the governor.
And it was the guy that worked at the bank that done it.
I know.
That's fucking pitiful.
But it was somebody that was like the governor's best friend or his wife's best friend, so it's really affected him big time.
No doubt.
I mean, big time. But there's just so much going on. Here's a picture of my brother David that they put in an early grave at the age of 51. My younger brother.
He looked young.
Yep,
He looked young.
51, died because of all the embarrassment going on in the community.
Oh, that's bad.
And to think that they was trying to push it off on me even after he died, they was still driving around saying, "You killed your brother! You killed your brother! You was having sex with your brother! You're a pedophile!" and all this other stuff. And here I am mourning and crying over my brother's death. And I'm thinking to myself, my God, what kind of freaking monsters are these freaking people?
I'd have got me a gun and fired at him.
That's what they wanted. That's what they wanted, and I wasn't going to do what they wanted.
I would have done it.
But I guarantee if I'd have been some off-the-wall freaking Mexican or some mean, cruel person, there would have probably been a whole family killed. It wouldn't have just been 1 or 2 people killed. It'd have probably been a whole family killed because they was provoking it. They was egging it on.
You need to put the fear of God in some of them.
You know what? I let God handle that. The Bible says that vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. And I truly believe that all this stuff that's going on with all these shootings and all these weather events, with all these tornadoes and all these massive electrical disturbances that I tried to tell people about in 2007 right up here around the Kentucky Dam, it's all coming true now. Just like whenever I sent the president, the 43rd president, a t-shirt that read "A Bloody Road Ahead" in 2005 that costed me 3 days in a mental institution. Guess what? The bloody road ahead is coming. It's already here. It ain't just coming, it's here.
Well,
Of course, that was in 2005 whenever I made that prediction.
you overstepped your boundaries.
Is that what it was?
Yep.
In other words, I wasn't supposed to went out to Oklahoma and Waco and stayed 3 days and 3 nights out there and investigated the investigators, was I?
No. You got to know your limitations.
In other words, I violated my authority?
You stepped over the line.
What do they call that? Meddling?
Public nuisance.
Was I meddling, Mr. Woody?
You was a public nuisance.
Was I meddling, though?
Yep.
I was involving myself in something that wasn't none of my concern.
Yep, you're not a private investigator. You need to get you a badge if you're gonna do shit like that.
Well, I don't think that nobody could have hired an investigator to have went and done what I done towards staying 3 nights and 3 days on the Davidian Waco compound and interviewing those men that I interviewed that had already gotten out of jail, that had to spend almost 20 years in jail over the ordeal. I don't think that they you could have paid somebody to have went down there and done what I done, plus going to Oklahoma and then planting a bomb in the back of my truck and blowing the back of my truck up. They brought this upon themselves, Mr. Woody,
Well,
in trying to make me out to be the bad guy.
You can't do shit.
And the
like
whole
that.
time they was the ones that was the bad guy.
You can't do shit like that and get away with it.
Well, you know what? I've looked it up. Under the pretense of being a journalist investigation, you don't have to have no credentials. You don't have to have no party. You don't have to have nobody in behind you to be an investigating journalist. In other words, you're going and you're rolling up your sleeves and you're trying to figure out what actually occurred. The who, the what, the when, and the why.
Well,
But look what it costed me.
It gets you in trouble.
Look what it costed me.
Mhm.
They put me on a black list, a spook list, and even to this day, I guess I'm still on a spook list, and I don't know, they may even know that I'm sitting here at this parking lot right now. But where my life changed, this is where my life changed. There's the sacred site in LBL. But whenever I had that made up,
What the fuck is that?
whenever I had that made up, and that made up, and that made up,
What the hell is it? I mean, I see what it is.
and that made up, and I went to Washington,
What's all the
D.C.,
horses about?
and I went to Washington, D.C. in 1989, explaining to the Congress, and me and my son passing it out all throughout Washington, D.C., that the first seal of the book of Revelation had been opened, and that I was going to be the one to meet the Antichrist, and before the frozen arrow struck the flesh of my skin, that I was going to vaporize or completely vanish, that every molecule in my body was going to be changed from mortal to immortal. That's whenever my life turned upside down, Mr. Woody.
Yeah.
In other words, they've been after me. That they started out towards trying to make me out to be a lunatic, because I believe in the Bible pertaining to the 4 horsemen out of the book of Revelations,
that's what
pertaining
that
to the 2 witnesses, pertaining to the new world order, the one world order, pertaining to the mark of the beast, and etc. Because I believed in all that stuff, going all the way back into the late 80s, early 90s. They made my life difficult, Mr. Woody.
Well, Dennis, you push it a little far. You push it a little far.
Well, I'm an activist. I'm a Martin Luther King, okay? And if there's something wrong with that, then there's something wrong with me. I'm an activist.
Well, it's gonna get you.
And sometimes you got to get a little loud if you're an activist. Sometimes being an activist does wind up putting you in jail. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if you're going to voice your opinion, kind of like those 2 guys up there in Nashville, Tennessee, sometimes you get chastised. Sometimes you get reprimanded for trying to do the right thing. And that's what happened to me, Woody.
Well, I know that, Dennis, but maybe you're too verbal on it.
Well, where would the turtle be, Mr. Woody, if he never stuck his head out?
He'd be hiding in the shade.
He'd still be sitting in the same spot, wouldn't he?
He'd be hiding in the
He'd
shade.
still be sitting in the same spot because the turtle has to take its head and stick it out of the shell
what's-
just to be able to move.
What do you seek to accomplish by all of that?
Mr. Woody, I was part of Ronald Reagan's nuclear arms agreement pertaining to the Cold War ending in Russia. It just so happens my people didn't want to stand behind me. They hung me out on a limb to dry. They talked about peace. They talked about the New World Order. They talked about the Antichrist, but they wasn't willing to get in behind the guy, behind the messenger that had the message. The church world is what let me down. Do you not see that? The church is who let me down.
Well,
They didn't want to support me. They thought that if they made it hard enough on the messenger, that the message would go away. Well, the message hadn't went away, and the messenger is still here.
well, sometimes you push it a little far.
The messenger is still here.
Well, for now.
But look what it's costing me.
Mm-hmm.
It's costing me my family. It's costing me my
That's
friends.
what I'm saying.
It's
Is it
costing
worth
me
it?
jobs.
Is
It's,
it worth it?
one day whenever
You're torturing yourself.
I'm not torturing myself. I'm not torturing myself.
Yes, you
I'm
are.
doing what I feel like that I should be allowed to do as an American citizen, and I'm doing what I feel like that God has called me to do. It'd be different if I was doing this all on my own. You know, it's one thing to be a self-appointed prophet, and it's another thing to be a prophet.
Well, no, you're making it hard on yourself, though.
No, they're making it hard on me.
Well,
You know, I was asked by the LBL authorities, Dennis, how come? Dennis, how come? Dennis, how come you're challenging the system?
well, they were right.
I'm
You
not
can't-
challenging the
you
system, Mr. Woody. The system is challenging me. And
can't-
guess what? The damn system is broke.
You're outnumbered, Dennis.
The system is broke, man.
Well, I know that.
We're
but-
$32 trillion in debt. We got drugs everywhere. There's suicides. There's gun violence. The system is broken. The State of the Union has failed us, Mr. Woody.
I know that. I know all of that. But what's the cure for it?
We got two choices.
I know what mine is. Sit here on the porch and drink a beer and leave them alone.
We got two choices, just like the little farmer that planted a crop and only about half of it come up. He can either live with what he's got, or he can disc it all back under again and go for another new crop.
Well-
That's where we are as a nation.
As a
And if it
country,
requires the insurrection, the Insurrection Act, Constitution, 22nd Amendment, if it requires an Insurrection Act to get it done, well, then that's what it's going to require.
well, it's the changing of the times, you know, and that don't work.
Changing of the guard. It don't do no
work
good.
no
It
more.
don't do no good to put the wolf not only in front of the hen house in watching the hens, but whenever you put the wolf inside the hen house, it don't do no good. And that's what has costed the American people. And I think the younger generation is wising up to this, and those are going to be the ones that's going to turn it around. It ain't going to be the older people. It ain't going to be the baby boomers. It ain't going to be the
This
ones that's,
younger generation ain't gonna do shit.
I don't know. They stood up there in the Capitol up there protesting for days and days on end, and got as probably as louder than any bunch that I've ever heard.
Yeah, what good did it do?
It made Tennessee show their true colors and just exactly what our legislation is made out of.
Well,
And you know what our
everybody knows that,
legislation
but you
is made out of?
Yeah.
It's made out of the same thing that it was ground up into them during the Civil War with Nathan Bedford Forrest pertaining to the originality of the KKK.
Yeah.
That's what it showed the rest of the world.
It ain't
That
gonna-
Tennessee is still part of that old system.
It ain't gonna change nothing.
You don't think enough young people in there would change it?
Nope.
Well, see, you're already full of doubt.
They
You're already full of disbelief, Mr. Woody.
right. You're absolutely correct.
If you get enough young people in there, they can overthrow whatever's going on pertaining to the bad legislation, and that's exactly what Tennessee done. They showed their you know what up there whenever they fired them two boys and then let that white girl not get fired.
Well, I'm not really up to date on all that.
Just because
I know that it happened.
just because they was standing up for gun violence. They was standing up. They wanted the state of Tennessee to be a red flag state. That way, everybody had to show their qualifications of having a gun. I guarantee you're not going to be able to get an automobile out here unless you're qualified to be able to operate the thing.
You're right.
What would our society be like if we all of a sudden took all those policies out, throw them out the door, and said, okay, any and everybody can drive an automobile. It don't matter if you're 7, 8, 10, 12 years old. You don't have to show proof that you're qualified to drive an automobile. Just get out here in an automobile and just drive. What do you think would happen to society?
I think we'd be better off.
It'd be more freaking wrecks now. It'd be more wrecks then than what you'd ever think. You think there's bad wrecks now? It'd be total chaos. And that's basically what they're doing with the guns. You can't put guns in criminals' hands.
Well, that's not up to me to decide. That's up to them gun laws. As long as they sell guns, by God, it's going to be the same thing over and over again.
There needs to be a red flag law.
Well, it needs to be regulated more than what it is.
That's right. It needs to be regulated. That's a good word. It needs to be regulated. And that's what these gun lobbyists and NRA lobbyists and all these people that's basically gun enthusiasts, that's basically what they're all up against because they don't want tougher regulations.
As long as there's
They don't want tougher regulations, would
As long as there's gun mills making guns and putting them out there, slinging them out there, it don't matter who's buying them. It ain't gonna change. You know, what you gotta regulate is people manufacturing these guns. That's who you gotta regulate.
How do you regulate them?
By God, they come up with something.
Well, in today's technology, you
can't just sling guns out there on the open market.
In today's technology, did you know that they can make a gun that you cannot fire unless it's your hand and your handprint around that gun? In other words, they can use digital technology to where your thumbprint is the only thing that will activate that gun to where that gun will actually fire. Other than that, it just becomes a paperweight to everybody else.
Well, there's too many.
So they could reform the guns.
There's too many guns out there on the
They
market.
could reform the guns, could they not?
Well, I mean, reform the gun.
Reform the gun to where the gun was more safer with the person that's qualified to have the gun. They could reform the gun. They could remanufacture the gun.
That ain't gonna happen.
Why not?
It just ain't.
Why? Everything else is coming in new.
Nobody wants it.
We got cars now that can't operate without a computer. We got combines and tractors and airplanes that can't operate without a computer. How come we don't have a gun that can't operate without a computer?
They ain't gonna do it with a handgun.
Mr.
It'd
Woody,
make the price double.
Mr. Woody, it don't matter. If you want a gun bad enough, you'll buy that gun. They got combines now. They got $500,000 combines that all you got to do is press it in and sit there. The farmer sit there and watch this combine go around in circles, and basically this combine will operate itself.
Yeah. Satellite control.
Through digital technology.
Right.
So you can't tell me that they can't remanufacture a gun to where that gun will not be. They could make this phone right here. This phone will not activate unless if I use my face recognition and my fingerprint. You could take that gun and take it all to pieces if you wanted to. You would never get that telephone to work if you wasn't me. Now, I did see on the news.
Technology.
I did see on the news where somebody killed somebody like a week or so ago. They cut their head off, and the reason why they cut their head off is they took their head and put it in front of the ATM machine and took their thumb and acted like it was them just to be able to go in and take all their money out of their freaking account. Now, I did see that happening already.
I seen that.
Now, that's pretty raw. Is that pretty raw?
It's tough enough.
That's pretty raw whenever somebody's going to do somebody that way because you know that they got money in their account. I think it had something to do with a bartender or something towards giving out some, what do you call it, Mickeys or something that you put in a drink.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I seen that.
What it was, somebody got in there and got to bragging about they had a little bit of money.
In these gay bars. That's where it happened, man.
How about the LGBTQ community?
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's got to do with gay. It got to do with men wanting to be women. It's got to do with women wanting to be men. They go in, they have an operation, okay, and now instead of having this, they got that. And the
Sodom and Gomorrah.
And the LGBT community also has got to do with the lesbians and the gays.
Well, I don't approve of it.
It's sexual. What did you guys call it back in the Woodstock days?
Mm-hmm.
Sexual revolution. is what you called it back then. The sexual revolution is what has put us
Sexual
where we are
revolution
today.
between
Free sex, free
man and a woman. That was free sex. These gays and lesbians.
Well, their appetites changed.
Hmm?
Their appetites changed. They no longer want to eat the oranges. Now they're only eating the apples.
Well, I have no control over what people want to do,
Neither nor do I.
and
But-
nobody else does.
But what God can do, He can bring condemnation down upon.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
That's exactly right. But what God can do is bring condemnation upon to that group of people. In other words, if the good people can't regulate what's going on, that's whenever God steps in and brings punishment to everybody. He allows for the Satan to come down in great wrath pertaining to storms
That's
and
what is it. That's just what is happening right now.
exactly.
That is what is.
In other words, we're all being punished because we didn't stand up for the righteousness of God.
Well, that's very true.
But it was you guys that started that stuff, Mr. Woody.
Who?
You're part of the baby boomers. You're part of you got what, 15 years on me. You was 15 years old before I was ever even thought
Didn't
about.
nobody go out in public and admit to being queer or lesbian.
I'm
They
s-
stayed in the closet.
They did then.
When
They
my,
did
my
then.
sexual revolution was free sex.
Woodstock,
Woodstock.
long
free
hair,
sex.
bell bottoms, beads. I know. But see what you guys started?
I didn't start it. Let them come out of the closet.
Well, the bottom line is this.
When they open up gay bars, that's when it's not regulated. But look here, you're taking away their rights. If they want to get out here and suck a dick, who's going to stand in their way?
This is being recorded. Don't be saying stuff like that.
Why not?
Just don't. It's not appropriate. Mr. Woody, no, we can't.
That's what we're talking
Mr.
about.
Woody,
Faggots.
Mr. Woody, we cannot do nothing but lead by example. That's the reason why the Lord said, get the mote out of your own eye before you worry about getting a beam out of your other brother's eye. You wouldn't have no right whatsoever if I come out here drinking and I was staggering all around my car and I was just nothing but a freaking drunk. You wouldn't have no right in telling me, Dennis, you got a bad drinking problem. You need to quit drinking. You know why?
It's
Because
just-
I've done seen you put away 3 cans.
It's just opinions. Like
I've done
say.
seen you put away 3 Bud Lights since I've been sitting here. So you see what I'm saying? You lead by example. You don't tell people in what they're supposed to do because I'm telling you to do it. You do what you're supposed to do because I'm doing it.
Well,
That's where we failed and missed the mark here.
I don't see it.
We failed and missed the mark,
I
Mr.
think
Woody.
everybody's got a right to do what they want to do, but I don't have to prove of it.
You don't have to prove of it, and you don't have to have it flashing right in front of your face towards it converting your children and your grandchildren and your daughters and your granddaughters and everybody else into the same atmosphere.
Well, that's true. It's like going to a naked beach, you know. I ain't got the right to tell them to put clothes on.
Because you're at a naked beach.
Right. That's like going to a gay bar. And you know, if you voluntarily go into a gay bar, then you're gonna put up with gay people. And that's the law. And that's the law.
Because if you go in there and get to reprimanding them, then the next thing you know, you're going to go to jail.
That's right.
And if you start degrading them, then that's considered a hate crime.
That's right.
You can't degrade them.
And you really can't be judgmental. What's judgmental?
You could be judgmental as far as
You can have
standing
an
in behind
opinion.
the book and saying this is what the book says.
You can have an opinion on it,
Yeah.
but you can't go in there and rob that bank. That's my opinion.
No, but you can tell them what the consequences are going to be if you do go in there and rob that bank and you get caught robbing that bank, right? You can tell them ahead of time what's going to happen to them.
You can have an opinion about it, but it ain't gonna do no good.
It will be if they got any sense.
Who's got sense? Bank robber ain't got no sense. He's probably on drugs or desperate for something. or he wouldn't be right.
What would have caused that man to have done that up there at that bank yesterday?
Hmm?
What would have caused an individual that works in a bank to flip out like that in a bank? Was there something else going on? Some hanky-panky stuff going on?
I
Or
don't
somebody
know.
done hurt somebody or done already hurt, didn't do
I
right
don't
on
know
a deal
all-
somewhere?
I don't know all the details about it. I just know he worked at the bank and he killed the employees.
That's,
Killed 4 of them, I think. Maybe he just flipped out. Maybe he's on drugs.
you know, it seems like we're hearing these mass shootings now just about every day. Every day. And I'm just afraid if something was to go on over there with China and Taiwan, to the point that times really did get hard, like it was back in World War II, whenever they had to restrict, put restrictions on almost everything, restrictions on tires, restrictions on gas, restrictions on food. I'm just afraid if we ever had to face off on that same dilemma, you realize how crazy it would get here in the United States?
Be dog eat dog.
It would be absolutely raw. That's whenever you'd need your gun.
Apocalypse.
That's whenever you'd need your guns, because the law wouldn't. Because ain't no way the law's going to be able to protect you at that point.
Nope.
That basically would we would
that's what
we
this-
would go back to the Western Wild West days.
That's what this country's going to.
You think so?
Yes. Dog eat dog.
The fastest man with the fastest draw is going to be the man left standing.
Yep. If Yellowstone Park out there blowed up,
Oh, that would
and
be
all them people come invading our
migrate.
country down in
Migrate
here,
down in here.
we'd be flooded with people.
Oh Lord God, yes.
And then it would be dog eat dog. Food would get scarce.
Everything gets scarce.
You'd have to go hide in a cave somewhere to be safe.
Uh-huh.
Because you wouldn't be, I wouldn't be safe living right here.
You'd have to live on a compound.
when
You'd have to live on a compound, wouldn't you?
When you have gangs walking
You'd have to live
up
on a
and down the
compound. You'd have to have people that would stick together, that watch one another's back, and have all kind of military artillery to be able
street. Survival.
to survive.
If Yellowstone was to blow up and take that part of the United States and then destroy the crops and stuff here, it'd be apocalypse.
It would, wouldn't it?
Whole United States would fall, and then another little country like China would step in here and take control over this country.
What's the latest news with Yellowstone National Park? This was one day ago.
Or it could be the New Madrid earthquake right here close.
This is what they put out 24 hours ago. Hold up. Wrong button. Oh my God. What is that?
Geysers. That son of a bitch is dangerous.
Is that air bubbles or is that heat that's making that do that?
Heat, mud, lava.
Looks like big bubbles coming up.
Mm-hmm. That's part of the geysers. That's what geysers do. When you got all that heat and gas coming out of the volcano.
But what's made it become more unstable?
That's in the plates moving around.
What's made it become unstable like that?
It's just the earth. The earth is living. The earth is moving. It's active. This earth is not dead.
Can I tell you what my philosophy is?
Why?
And I think me and you may have already done talked about it, pertaining to the inner core of the
Yeah.
earth,
It's molten lava.
molten lava that they claim is 10,000 degrees down there, 3,000 miles below our feet. But once it gets up to the surface, it's basically 1,172 degrees. But for the past 30 plus years, we've had an increase of volcanic activity over 300%, and 85%
It's
of
not
them,
just
85% of them
here,
are
it's all
happening.
over the whole earth.
85% of them are happening below the oceans, on the ocean floors. So what's happening there? I mean, is the earth basically going to implode?
It could. The plates are moving. One country's bumping into another.
What I'm saying is, Mr. Woody, is
This earth is not dead. This earth is still moving. It's growing.
What I'm saying is,
Iceland?
by draining all the oil out of the ground, we're disturbing the molecules. We're also increasing the activity with one rock rubbing against another rock, because now we've increased the friction, and because we've taken out the oil, that has increased the friction. Friction causes heat. I don't know what he's doing. Do you? Just driving around.
Looks like he's moving stuff.
Yep. Anyways, friction causes heat, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the heat is expanding from the center of the earth, and now we're starting to see the repercussions of it because we've drained a lot of the oil out of the ground. If you was to take all the oil going back to the late 1800s and put it in one area, let's say the Grand Canyon, how many times do you think we'd be able to fill the Grand Canyon up?
I don't know.
Several dozen times.
I don't
Several
know.
times.
Several
times.
It's the plates moving.
But what I'm saying is that oil was put there to allow for those plates to move, to cushion it. And also it was put there for a shield to not allow for the heat to escape out to the outer layers of the earth.
We're depleting the earth. We're depleting the earth. We keep taking away, but we ain't giving back. If California was to go ahead and break off and go out in the ocean, it might relieve
some pressure somewhere else.
Right. And that's what's going to happen eventually. Just like a New Madrid fault, it's going to do its thing again. It's just a matter of when. California is eventually going to break off and go out in the ocean. It's not.
And probably eventually Yellowstone will probably go off. It may not go off in our lifetime, but it probably will go off.
I'm sure it will. It's done it before, and it'll do it again. The Earth is constantly in motion, whether it's slow or whatever. Continents are moving into each other slowly but gradually, and when they hit, they're going to make mountains, and one of them's going to go down, one of them's going to go up. You know, we're destined for doom.
Well, the Bible says that God will come back and destroy those who are destroying the earth. How come it says that in the Bible, that mankind has the ability to destroy the earth if it wasn't in there?
We were put on this earth
to be good stewards. And we're not being good stewards.
We got to have what we got to have.
But we're supposed to be able to have enough sense once we identify that what we're doing is
That's
wrong
why we're going
or
to
bad. We're supposed to have enough sense to change
We're going
it.
to electrical power. We're trying to change things. It's like climate change.
Mr. Woody, 30 plus years ago is whenever we should be where we are right now towards changing over to either battery or solar or power or whatever. And they all laughed Al Gore and costed him his presidency over in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
They said he was an owl lover. They said he was a tree hugger. They called him everything in the world but the right thing. Mm-hmm. And now we're suffering on account of it.
Slowly but gradually, we're depleting this ball that we're riding on. That's why we need to get out there into outer space. That's our only savior right out there. Get on another planet. Mars, moon, whatever.
So we can contaminate that atmosphere too as well?
Exactly. And then move on out to the solar system.
I seen a thing on Facebook that said, why should we worry about life beyond this life if we're steadily taking life here on this planet? If we're steadily in constant turmoil towards killing one another and butchering one another.
We're animals. We're animals.
We ain't supposed to be though.
Yeah, we are.
That's the reason why the Bible was given to us, to be able to love thy neighbor and to be able to
that don't work.
Show love instead of show hate.
Well,
are you a hate monger?
I could be.
Well, we all could be. But just because we could be don't mean that we need to be, and don't mean that we have to be. But I do like your little get up right there. Where the heck did you get all that at?
This?
Yeah. That's nice.
It was actually a yard light, and I had it out there in that rock pile out there, and wind blowed it down, broke the pole.
So it had electricity going through it, or was it
battery,
solar?
It's battery, solar.
Solar?
it served its purpose for a while, but don't nothing last forever.
Where'd you get something like that at? Lowe's?
I don't remember. My daughter-in-law picked it up somewhere. Probably Lowe's has got them, I'd say. Lowe's or Home Depot or Harbor Freight.
Well, I sure don't want to go back to jail and sleep on that thin cot no more and be around all them people with all them drug problems and all them other problems. I sure don't want to go back to jail again, do you?
I'm too old for this shit. I'm too old for it.
Jesus, man. You never could really get rest because it was like laying on a piece of concrete, you know it? Actually, it was worse than concrete.
A metal rack?
A metal rack, yeah. That holds.
I had all my clothes underneath my mattress.
I know, you kind of softened it up a little bit. But every so often they'd go in there and shake us down, wouldn't they? Looking for what? Contraband?
Anything.
Contraband?
Anything, everything.
Looks like you got a neighbor coming in.